falling prey to whatever substance it may be, whether it's alcohol or a narcotic drug, heroin, meth. The list is endless. But I definitely see that there is a need out there for having somebody with this knowledge that could work with police officers. I think that would be a great way to go with some with getting some funding to local departments to accomplish that.
So we have people trained, peer support people too, that are trained to help people through the process. And I think that would also be a useful resource to the police department to have. And it's there. That's kind of a new concept in Maine, the peer support. I think that people, they're not necessarily in recovery. However, they're trained to be support. And when you get off drugs and alcohol, you need support because sometimes you have kind of pushed everybody out of your life and you have no one.
Right.
So it's very important to always have support.
And I could also imagine, too, the law enforcement community. A lot of law enforcement officers, they have that type A personality. So they may not necessarily know about addiction. So they've only looked at it from one side, essentially. Right. And I think having access to those tools to learn about how to better be equipped to deal with addiction is definitely a way that should be looked at, for sure.
Less force for sure. There's too much physical force that could be avoided.
Right. Yeah. De-escalation too.
De-escalation techniques. Yeah. It's almost like they forget when they're in they're all pumped up and they forget that
they have that adrenaline.
Yeah.
Right.
And this person could be in crisis, and it's really bad. Bad.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they don't go home.
So I definitely think that's an area that you will be very well versed in to serve people in District 64. What are some other ideas you have that could possibly help with the community, with the addiction aspect in the community, I should say?
Well, we have a lot of veterans coming home who are wounded, and they're mentally and physically. And my husband is a veteran, and we've had some dealings with that. And he had a counselor once, and he was really a good counselor. And then, boom, they were gone. So people come and go there. PCPs come and go. So anyone who has services, especially mental health services, they need stability. They need to be able to count on the people that they've trusted.
Right.
And I see that in the substance abuse counseling too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
I mean, going through treatment, one thing that it definitely was a struggle because what would happen is you'd essentially get comfortable with, say, a counselor, and say you get to know them for, I don't know, 3, 4 months, 5 months, and then all of a sudden they're gone.
Yep.
Now, all of that work that you've worked towards is getting thrown into someone else's lap who may not necessarily understand exactly where you're trying to go.
And they don't know you.
That's my You
don't have that rapport built with them.
Exactly. And that, I think, can also set somebody in recovery back.
Yep.
And it might be someone that you will never have that rapport with, and so you might have to go, request somebody else or look for someone else, and it's not easy to trust.
It's not
when you're in recovery.
It's definitely not.
Yeah.
It is a very, very, very tough situation all the way around. Definitely, we want to thank a shared studio for allowing us to make this all possible. Definitely, if you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. Um, I'm sure it's somewhere on the screen, somewhere
It's in the
in one of these things we're broadcasting live to. But yeah, so again, I think that's great. That's one thing, being a Republican, that I don't think we see a lot of, is other Republicans that are willing to take the initiative to help out in the recovery community. Because one spot that I know as a Republican that we lose a lot of people is in the recovery community, just because of how we essentially take firm stances and we may come off a little callous. So I think that is wonderful that there's another Republican out there besides myself that feels very strongly about recovery issues.
there's a stigma to it.
Absolutely, and growing up, growing up around people who look down on essentially anyone who may fall in victim or just fall into hard times of substance abuse. We kind of get programmed by trying to have this hard personality, and it makes it hard, so that when people do want to get help, there is that stigma that's created from it, and rewriting on how we should think is definitely something that is progressively starting. I've seen the change over the last few years, and I think it is a step in the right direction. I do.
And I think it will also help gear more towards people thinking that something like that, mental wellness and things like that, needs to go into more of a, it needs to get expanded more broad. So right now, people in recovery, like people that do drugs and substance abuse, they're more penalized as opposed to helped.
That's right. And I'm glad you mentioned stigma. So the population that I work with probably is most stigmatized than any other. And I think it was when I first started getting into, I'm in recovery as well. And once I started getting into classes and the whole disease concept, I wasn't quite on board with that. And then I started learning about opioid addiction and how it changes the brain, and it's a chronic disease. And I talked to a doctor, and she just like enlightened me, and it's like, oh my God, it is. It's a chronic disease. Your brain changes. And if we can get this across to people that nobody wakes up one day and says, oh, I guess I'll become a heroin addict.
Right.
And it's just really sad. And families too.
Yeah, it's not just the addict who suffers. I mean,
It's everybody.
Yeah, it's the whole entire family.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I was thinking about overdose deaths, and in 2020 we had 504 overdose deaths in Maine.
wow, that is a huge number.
Oh, from opioids.
And I could only imagine what the new number is going to be with COVID coming out, because I'm not sure if last year's numbers. What year was that you have?
That's 2020. 2021 was 632.
Wow. So it's progressively jumped. Wow.
Yep. That's really sad.
That
So
is.
sad.
That is. And that's I think prevention and treatment are the two places to focus. Getting the information into schools, letting teachers have access to the tools to be able to teach students to stay away from this crap.
Right. Education.
Education
Yeah.
is the best prevention. One thing that I will put out there is if you do have a loved one who is suffering from any substance abuse, one thing you don't want to do is harp on them about getting into recovery. You don't want to wake up yelling at them every day, get into recovery.
Or give them ultimatums.
Yeah, ultimatums don't work.
No.
One big thing that here's an idea that may work for you. This is actually what got me to go into recovery. Start leaving literature around them.
Really?
Because essentially what you are doing is if they pick up that literature and they read, hey, about, say, a local clinic, and they go and check out that local clinic, they are feeling that it is their idea to go and get help.
Right.
They weren't told to go get help. So essentially, you're making it so that they feel that it's their idea to get help.
They feel empowered.
Yes, because at that point, they can make the decision to be selfish in their recovery. Because until you can recognize that selfishness you need to take to succeed in recovery, you are going to have a lot of setbacks. But that's just one thing that I found that works. I'm sure there's hundreds of other things out there. I'm sure you probably have some resource knowledge of where to send people to get some.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot.
Yeah,
And
that's the downfall. Is there's not a lot of
no,
a lot of things for mental health issues and substance abuse issues.
there really aren't.
Where would you tell somebody to start? What would be your advice if somebody was looking to get help right now? What would you tell them to do?
Well, I guess I would probably refer them to online on SAMHSA, which is substance abuse and mental health that governs everything in the state of Maine. There are endless resources on there, publications and phone numbers, and so that's a real good resource. And I would say, look, if you know someone who's in recovery, talk to them.
Yep.
And
Definitely build that support. They
Yeah.
need a support structure.
definitely.
The stronger their support structure is, the better chances at succeeding they will have.
I think people need to realize that people can't get into recovery and successfully stay in recovery until they have decided themselves
Right.
that they need recovery.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Family members, as much as they try, can't decide for the person. Interventions don't work for that reason.
No.
You need the person in recovery. This is someone talking about recovery. I've been a recovering alcoholic for 7 years now.
6 years myself.
And you can't want recovery for somebody. They have to want it.
Exactly.
That-
Exactly.
For one reason or the other.
If you watch the show Intervention and they're like the bottom line, we're not going to do this or that, and I'm like, how can you? That does not work.
that
You're forcing
show-
someone.
That show scares me
Me
so
too.
much. Like, dropping that bottom line could be what pushes an addict over the edge
Yeah.
to go out. Because you got to think, if the addict doesn't want to go to rehab, all right, say you drop that bottom line, all right, they don't go to rehab, what happens? You've kicked them out of where they're living. Or so their support structure's gone, okay? Now they have the thought process in their head, I really have nothing to live for. So
Right.
what's stopping me from using X amount of whatever it is I use? And then that like I said, the support structure's gone, so therefore they don't care.
Right. You don't
And-
feel loved or
yes.
appreciated, so
Right.
that's down.
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, that's just the wrong road to go down, in my opinion.
Definitely.
That show scares me.
But if you're out there listening, tell someone. Just tell someone, anyone, that you need help. Go, call the police department. They have a program that they they will refer people to.
Yeah,
even
Project Hope here in Waterville.
Project Hope, yes.
Yeah, great
Thanks.
program.
Yep.
Excellent
Call
program.
them. I mean, they will go out of their way to get you into recovery.
They seem to have. They seem to send a lot of people out of state from what I've.
Really?
Yeah, they've got a really good connection.
There must
Sure.
not be too many recovery places in the state.
No,
That's
Not
probably
any
why.
that have like not detox centers. We have
Right.
no. I think we have one detox center in the state of Maine. I think, and I could be wrong about that. It may be gone. So we may
St.
own.
Mary's,
I want to say that's the only one
And
left.
South Portland,
I
I
think
Yeah.
that's the only one.
I mean, we used to have
There was
the
a few.
Seton.
Yep.
It was a great rehab, and every time I look at that building empty, I'm like, oh my gosh, if we just had some place for people to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to get the help that they want.
Well, speaking of Seton, I guess that could bring us into our next topic. Affordable housing is a very big issue here in Waterville. What are your thoughts on affordable housing?
Well, I think that we have a lot of buildings. What is happening? What is happening at the Martin building?
So I believe that's being torn down, and that space is going to be utilized for housing.
Yes.
There's a family in Waterville,
Mm-hmm.
I think in Waterville, that's going to build a couple different units that have like 12 to 24 units in them each, I believe.
I want to say it was 48 units, but I think you're talking about on College Ave across the street from the old the betting track place. It used to be
Yeah,
John Martin
the,
Manor.
yeah.
yeah,
I'm
the
talking
manor. She's talking
downtown.
Martin's over here.
Oh, yeah.
I do know that they got some.
I thought you meant Martin Manor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that one is
Yeah,
48.
that's what I'm talking
yeah, I
about.
believe that one's 48 units, and that's what the end goal I think is 48 units. I'm not 100% sure, but I know the Martins, the old Martins building, it was bought by another company, and they did get federal funding
Really?
to essentially move forward with building affordable housing. And there's also supposed to be, like on the first floor, like rental business space,
Okay.
lofts and stuff like that. So that's a good idea there too. I know Seton, there was talk, and I think they were waiting on state money, and I'm just guessing it hasn't gone through. That would probably be a Bruce White
Yes.
conversation.
Which is the current rep
Yes.
in this seat.
Yes.
Well, I know that at my job, we have been dealing with homeless people. We actually had someone pass away being out in the cold.
Oh, wow.
And they've opened up the hotels, but that in some places sometimes hasn't always been good, and so they closed the hotels off to people.
Right.
So we are in dire need of affordable housing,
Definitely.
and we need something now
Yeah.
for the people that are just out there wandering. And
What do you think the answer to that is?
what?
I think the answer to that is
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm not sure,
Mhm.
and I don't know if anybody has the answer.
I don't think they do. I think the answer just ends up being, build more housing.
Exactly.
I think the answer to that question is the subsidies that they're giving, because that's what they're doing with the Martins building over here. There is a subsidy that is. I remember going to a city council meeting. I want to say that the apartments that they wanted to build in them were like $200,000 a piece, and there was essentially a stipend that the state was going to give per unit to essentially incentivize the building of that unit.
Mhm.
So from a conservative standpoint, I don't know if that's the best way to go with trying to save money, but from the look of affordable housing, it is definitely an area that needs to be looked at.
It is definitely. And my only question is, if it's expensive like that and they're subsidizing it, how much of it's subsidized? Is it really affordable if it's like a $250,000 loft apartment and they subsidize $50,000? $200,000 is not very affordable.
I see what you're saying. I do. And that I think that would be, Bruce would be the one to ask for those questions, because I know he did a lot to do with that.
I think, so I read out of some places that they're starting to look at or invest in tiny homes.
Yes.
That would be a wonderful thing.
And because it's a lot more affordable for a tiny home, and for people that are homeless, it's a perfect spot.
Yep.
I mean,
because it's small, you don't need much.
I want to say,
I think Portland's doing it right now.
I saw something online. I want to say it was on Facebook, and it was out in California. And what they were doing is they were building small little like units that pretty much fit one person in a sleeping
like a
bag.
tiny home.
Yeah, and they were on like bicycle wheels, but essentially they have parking lots that they have them in, and then the homeless can come in at certain times, so they sleep through the night.
Right,
and then
stay warm.
Yep. So I thought that was kind of neat, but yeah, I don't know if that would be the way to go here, but definitely
Be low.
Yeah.
Low
cost.
utilities and.
Yeah, it would be, or because you could have like a couple solar panels.
Yeah, they did.
It can help. It can help conserve the power.
Yeah, they were, so they could charge their cell phones and small electronics and stuff like that.
Right.
So I think that would probably be a good way to go.
Yeah, you should be able to do that pretty affordable. Like
I think so.
It's probably a little bit nicer than a shed, but it's a place for someone to get warm.
Yep.
There's no, you're protected from the elements. You're not outside.
Right.
You have a place to stay warm, sleep.
Privacy.
Yep.
Well, see, here's another thing too that might be a good idea. They have those shipping containers. They got the smaller ones.
Right.
I really wonder what it would take for a town to maybe get some federal money somehow and build a few of these small ones, and then they could keep them on public land. Because we have like the porta potty over here.
Right.
So there could be a facility, but do something where they could move them if they had to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, something along the ideas of that.
One of those shipping containers could be good for 2 homes.
Oh, I know. I've seen some crazy stuff. It is amazing. But yeah, homelessness is. We got to do something.
People are dying.
Exactly.
From it.
And as far as I'm concerned, if we can be loving people and bring people in from other countries and be the loving people that we are, and we put them up in hotels, why can't we help our veterans and everybody else who's homeless too? Why do they should get love too? I think everybody, if we're going to give love, it should be down the board to everyone.
Yeah. The question arises, of course, is who pays for it?
Right, and that's why I'm saying, I mean, we already see federal money going to make it so that there isn't as large as a homeless crisis, but I think that needs to be opened up. I think it could be beneficial to a lot of people, everyone.
We had people where I work who were staying in hotels, and they were requiring that every day they came to general assistance.
That's also a good idea.
But they have no transportation.
Right, yeah.
It's winter.
Yeah.
So we had people being kicked out because they couldn't meet the requirement. And my thought was, why is there not an outreach worker who could just go and just spend the time with them?
Yep.
What would that, I mean, it's the same people they would be meeting there. So time-wise, it would be.
Which actually leads to another question I have. Right now, through KV Cap, we have the Explorer van.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on expanding that in Waterville area to have more stops?
Absolutely.
I'm all for it
Yeah,
myself.
definitely.
So that's good. And so if that were to happen, I guess you pay now a couple of dollars per stop or something
Something
from
like
my
that.
understanding. You could expand it and then who would pay for that though? Like the actual, unless of course it pays for itself with the rides.
I would imagine.
I'm not even sure how it's paid for now. It must be federal funds.
That's what I was just going to say. I would
Yes.
imagine
Or well,
there's got to be some type of subsidy for KV Cap to do it.
yeah,
Um,
I'll find out.
Yeah, I can message Jay about it.
yeah, that'd be interesting because I'm all for more transportation. I think that's the worst thing Waterville, Oakland, Winslow, Fairfield ever did was move away from the electric trolley systems they had. I don't know if that was by design or not. I know in Mills Park in Fairfield, they essentially scrapped. There used to be a footbridge, kind of like the 2-cent bridge here, that used to cut across. It was just a footbridge, but they scrapped it for the iron and stuff for World War II. So I don't know if that's why some things have disappeared around here, or if it was done on purpose.
You're worth looking into.
I think so. I think so.
You're usually the one that posts the stuff.
Yeah,
about
I
history on
kind of
the page,
dig.
So.
I have an older lady. She's 82, and she's just starting to become Facebook savvy.
Oh.
I originally met her through email. She lives here in Waterville. She's been here all her life. But yeah, she sends me an interesting article about Waterville or somewhere around
Hey,
here.
it gets people liking it.
Her grandson's the one that sent us a few of those black and white videos. Well, her grandson sent them to her. She sent them to me, and then I posted them up. But yeah, so that's how that showed up. But yeah, I think that'd be an interesting thing to try to find out. I think public transportation is definitely something that we should be moving towards, especially if we want to continue to be this essentially the service hub for the area that we are.
Right.
I mean, I know Jay's done a really good job at leveraging outside communities to make the funding that we need to stay competitive here in Waterville.
Right.
So I guess since we're moving into that, taxes, being a homeowner, how do you feel with the mill rates that keep climbing? Is that something that you would like to help change?
Yeah, I think I would. When I was at the caucus, I was thinking about taxes on my house. I just have a small little ranch-style house. And when Paul LePage was our mayor,
Yeah.
our taxes didn't go up. The year after he left, they went up like $900.
That would have been Karen Heck that
Yep,
took over
Karen
after
Heck, yep.
LePage.
I thought there was, for some reason, I thought there was someone slightly in between LePage and her for just a brief time.
Was there an appointed?
I thought there was somebody else, but
Right.
I could be wrong.
I don't know. I thought it went LePage, Karen, Nick.
It's
Jay.
possible, but I thought for some reason that there was.
You may be right.
Karen Heck?
Yeah.
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 Well, she wasn't very long, though.
She
I think she was very...
she did 1 or 2 terms.
I don't know. I
don't
don't
remember.
I don't live
It
in
was-
Waterville. I live in
I
Oakland.
I caught her right as her ending.
Yeah. Me too.
I came into the Waterville politics scene right around the time Nick was coming onto the scene.
Me too.
That's when I started getting.
When he was during
Heavy
his
into
campaign
politics, yeah,
season, that's
yeah.
when I came around.
That's when I got heavily involved in politics, and it probably could be in part somewhat because of Nick. So, but yeah, so yeah, we gotta figure out a way to essentially get the mill rates lower here in the towns. I know one way that they like to try to keep the mill rate down is by shared revenue.
Right. Revenue sharing.
Revenue sharing. How do you feel about revenue sharing? I know a lot of people don't like it. A lot of Republicans don't like revenue sharing.
But a lot of taxpayers like it.
I don't know. Again, I don't know that much about it, but I will before the week is over. Believe me, because you're giving me great ideas.
Good.
I'm a new candidate. I am green as green can be, but I want to hear everything.
Well, hey, as long as you're willing to do the work that needs to be done in Augusta, I'm all for you. I am tired of these politicians coming out and talking like they know what they're talking about. They get to Augusta, they know absolutely nothing. They're just as green as any other green person would be. And then they come back 2-4 years later, sell the same garbage, go back, and it's just rinse, recycle, repeat. So, like I said, I think we definitely need more people in Augusta that are not politicians. Like I said, with your background being in the mental health field and drug and alcohol addiction,
I think that gives you a big advantage.
especially being a Republican, because I know one place that we have been struggling is trying to connect with the part of the community that has been marginalized for so long with the stigma of recovery and addiction and all that. So that's definitely, I think, a step in the right direction.
Well, my opponent works for DHS, and some of the things that I read, that some of the bills make no sense to me. And I would think, because she's in the social services field, that she might be more informed. But
Dropping you out a little bit there.
I'm sorry,
No worries.
I'm turning my head.
I know.
So I think that I'd love to have a debate with her.
So are you talking about Colleen? Because I thought you were running in the same seat
Bruce
as
is 109. I don't know what
that's the-
109
We've been
is.
split.
Yeah,
It's been pretty much
110 is Colleen Madigan,
Correct, but she's running for 64,
which is
which is
old
what Bruce
110.
said his was.
No, Bruce 109. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what Bruce is running for. I know it's not 64. I don't. Oh, now you got me. We got to check this
Because
out.
I sent him a message and he said 64.
Did it?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. I can check the website.
Yeah, we're gonna check this out because now I'm curious.
Me too.
Because when you said she, I'm like, wait a minute.
I'm looking here. I don't see. I'm trying to find his. Oh, that's why. Let's go to pages. Bruce White, candidate for Maine. 65. Not 64.
I'll have to tell him that.
Because he's 109. Old District 109, so you're not
Right.
running against him. It would be Colleen Madigan.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if she's running again or not, to be honest.
Yes, she
I,
is.
she is.
Yeah,
Okay,
she
so
is.
I just I hadn't heard. So that you just filled me in on some good news that I did not know yet.
I think
That's interesting.
So does he have like South Waterville and
Waterville, I know the way that the line has pretty much been described to me is Mayflower Hill
Mm-hmm.
that way, Mayflower Hill this way.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty much how it was.
Colleen's is like part of Waterville and part of Oakland.
Yep.
Part of Waterville and a tiny, tiny bit of Winslow.
Yeah.
There's
With-
no Oakland.
Not anymore. Not with the change.
No.
Used to be.
Oh.
Her.
Right.
Well, 110.
Colleen.
Used to have a piece of Oakland because
Correct.
that's how Mark was able to run for Waterville,
Right.
living in Oakland. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure I had that right.
Because of KMD, basically.
Right. Yes. Yes. But yeah, the divides there at pretty much the college.
I've yet to find what part of Winslow I have over there because it's not on my printout. But
I know.
it's like a tiny.
I did get a map sent to me. I will look to see if it
Yeah,
shows,
see.
and I will send it to you.
Yeah, that'd be
Um,
great. Thank you.
Kevin Kitchen sent me a decent map, so I do have a decent map now. It has the list I wanted, so
Yeah.
we do have that. Heating fuel and heating costs. I know there's been some ideas floated around Facebook, but I guess before we get into talking about heating fuel, let's talk a little bit about this money that Governor Mills is talking about giving back to the people. How do you feel about giving this money back to the people?
I don't feel really good about it. I don't even know what's going on. I just all of a sudden got a check a few weeks ago for $396 or something. I don't know, and I'm like, what? What? And I wanted to send it back, but I didn't know where to send it, so I just sort of hang on to it. And she just keeps giving money away. No explanation of what. Send it. Where'd it come from? You know, where's all this
Putting someone in
money?
debt.
Well, yeah, and at one point she wanted to take this money and pay back the general fund or the rainy day fund, and it's like, well, that's really not what it's for. But I was under the impression if it must be COVID money.
I'm not 100% sure where it came
that's
from.
what I read was that it was COVID money. Well, why isn't that returned to wherever it came from?
From a conservative aspect, that is a good.
So where's the money coming from for the low-income assistance with the electricity? Can't figure that out either.
So that's probably through LIHEAP, which is
A federal funding.
Yeah. I think that's all through federal,
Yeah.
and then it gets divvied up to the states.
Yeah, they break it down into the accounts, like KV Cap and
Right.
all those.
And then you can
small,
apply for it at KV Cap.
like the general assistance
So-
places in the towns.
Well, there is a special $80 that's going to every low-income recipient because of the increase in the power. But
That's news. I did
I
not know that.
don't, yeah, it just came out like last week. But no explanation where that's coming from either.
So what I was going to say with getting into the fuel costs being up, the idea that's been being floated around is Mills should take the money that she wants to give out, the $700-800 or whatever it would be, and essentially put it to the gas tax, so that our gas isn't as crazy as the rest of the United States.
Well, I think what they're trying to
How
do
it-
is just take away their gas
Take
tax.
away the debt, yeah.
I know, but this was just something that was floated. Someone said something on Facebook, and they said that she should put it towards that. But I thought that was a good idea because then it would make heating oil more affordable for us. And
I know Representative Laurel Libby has inserted a bill, and it's in the starting phases. It has to go through the legislative committee first, but that's to remove the gas tax, I think, for like 6 months, which is like 30 cents a gallon, I think.
it's crazy, yeah.
I think
would
that's
be
what it
great.
is
Yeah.
per gallon, just to
Yeah,
help
it's-
us.
Yep.
It's crazy how much tax is on it, by the time it gets to us. But
And I think now Paul LePage is running on that aspect as well
yeah,
while he runs for governor.
we definitely need to start looking at things from a more conservative aspect. Putting our kids in debt is not the way to go. I do think there's some things that can be done smarter if they were looked at from a more conservative lens. It would essentially help people further.
Not even a conservative lens. I would say just as a like a fiduciary lens to just make sure you're
Good rule of thumb, yeah.
right, crossing your T's and
Absolutely.
dotting your I's, just so you're not out there wasting money. You're being a good steward of tax money.
Accountable spending.
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time the budget really balanced out?
Well, we have the constitutional amendment that says it has to balance technically, but
Just because it looks like it does doesn't mean it does.
Yeah, I have a problem with politicians spending the money that belongs to the people in a roundabout way.
yeah, it's because that's where it all comes from. It's all tax money.
Exactly.
So now they're trying to give. She was originally trying to give back 500, and now it's potentially up to 750
$750, I was gonna say. I thought it was somewhere between
because
there.
it was 500 and then 250.
Yeah. Okay. I
So
gotcha.
now people are saying keep the 250 you were going to give us, and then lower the taxes, and
Yeah.
like it was lower the income tax.
Okay.
That's what people were running on, is lower the income tax rate. Keep the money, lower the income tax rate. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. Also, what's another big social media question right now? governor's jumping on board with banning Russian alcohol. How do you feel about that? You think we should jump on board, or
I think we should ban all alcohol, but that's just my opinion. I don't. Sure, why not? Let's ban Russian alcohol. Yeah, sure,
you think so?
sure, why not?
Like all
I'm not.
alcohol or all Russian alcohol?
Oh, Russian alcohol.
okay.
I
All
guess,
Russian
yeah.
I was gonna say we
Okay.
already
We'd have
tried
a-
their prohibition. That
Yeah, I
that
know.
didn't work.
Right. But yeah. Okay. So yeah.
I am glad that the president has stopped the importing of oil and.
Did he?
Yeah,
stop
that was
the-
from today.
He
Yeah,
did.
today,
Okay. I
yeah.
remember looking at it. I didn't know if it had gone through, so he did. So that means that we
open the
see. This is the
pipeline.
crazy part. Even though we're reliant on Russian oil, and I hate how they're always like, "Oh, bad man, Putin, bad man." What's the alternative now? Where are we gonna go?
Well, they want to
Saudi Arabia, Iran,
We get a lot from China. I mean, from Canada.
Venezuela.
Like we get a big portion of our oil from Canada.
Yeah, we do. But my point, well, we actually get more natural gas from Canada than I think we do oil.
I don't know. We get a big chunk.
Yeah.
They're one of
Yeah,
our
we do.
biggest.
But my
importers.
point is they sit here and they're like, "Oh, bad man." But now, yeah, they're gonna go to another bad man.
I mean, I think we should just up the export here in our country. Just
I honestly don't know why we moved away from our energy independence. I mean, Biden opened our strategic stockpiles, and from what I've read and seen on the news, we're selling it to other countries.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That makes entirely no sense. Why would you do that?
We should remove the ban on all drilling, all new leases from federal lands too.
Yeah,
Because that's one of the first things he did was placed a ban on all new.
He did that the
leases.
first day, I think. I want to say it was the first day.
Yeah. Now I know people say we should go back and allow the XL pipeline, but that was only 10% complete anyway.
True.
And he wasn't the only one that delivered a blow to that. The Supreme Court, before he even came, and
I'm all
started,
for pipelines as
all
long
started.
build them all day long.
I agree.
More the better, in my opinion. As long as the company stays safe within the regulations of building them.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm all for strict regulations on air, water, but we need our energy independence.
All American companies. American companies.
I think we should do what we
Do-
can to try moving off from at least a little bit off of the dependence of fossil fuel.
Oh, absolutely, but I don't necessarily think that windmills and
Well, no, not windmills. I just mean like nuclear is a lot more
yeah,
safe than
I'm
it used to be.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I know.
It's like one of the cleanest forms of energy.
Yeah, I'm all for nuclear energy. There's
That's like
actually
the
a
one
new
thing that nobody will talk about.
there's actually a new group that popped up on Facebook.
Yeah, I got
has-
invited to that. That is.
I want to say it wasn't. I want to. It was Lee Haas. I want to say that invited me to that group.
It was a guy I know named Chad that invited me, I believe.
But so we got so you're definitely for a balanced budget.
Definitely.
I know.
Just a budget would be nice. You know.
So definitely got to have our accountable spending.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Tax control. Tax.
Yep.
We tax. What is sales tax? I don't even know what sales tax is. I
5.5.
don't like to
I was
think
gonna
about
say
it.
Sales tax is
5.5.
5.5 for your sales tax itself.
How much is it on Russian rum or whatever it was?
it's probably 99.9 at the moment.
I don't know.
Especially once the black market gets a hold of it.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah.
banning things like Russian alcohol. It just
Stop the imports.
we only import of Russian alcohol, Russian vodka, 1.2%. is
Don't
Russian.
you think it makes us feel like we're doing something?
I don't.
That's what it
want-
is.
I
You
don't
don't
want to see.
you
It's
don't-
virtue signaling, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't really care if we feel like we're doing something. If we want to do something, that's fine. Just stop the whole importing itself, and that, as small as it would be, that would be technically doing something if we stop the importing. But if we just ban the sales that are already here, none of that money is going to Russia. It's going to the people that already bought it.
Yeah.
Russia's already been bought and paid for. That's
Exactly.
already over there. They already got their money. So now we're
Yeah,
just
good point.
we're just hurting the people that are actually trying to sell what they have in their warehouses, and we're hurting the small mom and pop places that are trying to buy it and then resell it to the consumer.
Yep. Like you said, I think stopping the import is the proper way to go.
And I'm not even for
Right.
that. I'm just saying if we want to
If-
make
yeah.
any kind of substantial change
And-
where
and-
you're going to impact dollars going to Russia at all, that would be the way to go.
And I think another thing, too, with some of our political leaders that are talking about these things, instead of broadcasting it so loudly, just do it.
Right.
Don't get on the news and say it. There's no point in punching the bear in the nose. We know what the bear will do. But
I think we need more control over social media.
more control. I think we just need more social media.
Oh my gosh!
I think we
I
need-
guess maybe I have to get more involved with social media. I
I
just find
yeah.
it really difficult sometimes.
I think we need more people talking and not less.
Yeah.
So I guess social media is such a generic term, and it's really run by the corporations. I'm not really looking for government control of corporations at
No.
all.
Yeah.
I mean, they already have the hidden private partnership with companies that's
Yeah, I don't want
starting
that
to
either.
happen. I mean, we know where that leads. That just leads to
Censorship.
essentially censorship and socialism, and then eventually communism. If
Which
you
is
allow
sad.
That would be more like fascism
yeah,
if you have businesses running
yeah.
with the government.
Well, once the money dries out.
Money always dries up sometime.
So, ask me something I really definitely don't know anything about, so I can give you my answer.
Okay. What do you think about something you don't know about? I don't know if you're going to know this. What do you think about the minimum wage?
Circle back. We'll circle back to that.
Okay.
We can
Okay.
we can talk about EGS ratings.
I wanted to quote Jen Psaki so bad. So
Circle
circle back.
back.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. So, I think we're coming up on 50 minutes. I think.
You have a bunch of papers or anything
Yeah, you
else
gotta-
you want to
got
talk
any-
about?
yeah.
Well,
we
I-
haven't
I
really
thought-
even looked at it. We're just
I
talking
know.
about a
Well,
lot.
it's mostly about substance abuse issues, which it's in everybody's life. If someone doesn't know someone, whether they know someone who has not overdosed or is in treatment, and that's a sad story. That's very sad. So, one thing I would like to see is, I would like to see people who on Maine Care who are in treatment to be able to have an outside like if they're in a clinic, to have be able to have an outside counselor, because some of the clinics are so full of people that I want to be sure their needs are met.
Mm-hmm.
So, and right now they're not able to do that with any insurance, not just Maine Care, but any insurance they're not allowed.
So how does that work? Because I'm not familiar with how counseling works with Maine Care. How does that work currently right now?
Well, if you are in treatment in a clinic or
Like recovery treatment?
a recovery treatment, or you go to a doctor and get your prescription, you can, if you go to a doctor and get a prescription for, say, Suboxone, you can have an outside counselor
Okay.
because you don't get counseling. But if you're in a clinic, any counseling you get is there.
Oh, okay.
And
So they
it's-
keep it in-house.
Keep it in house. Whereas it would be really nice. Some people really need more counseling,
Mhm.
and they would be able to get a counselor. We have a lot of substance abuse counselors in Waterville.
Yes.
And they would be able to go to one of those and have one-on-one counseling.
I think that would
What do you
be very beneficial.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Um, I mean, even like, because when I went into treatment, I went through the methadone program, and doing groups and stuff. It was once a month, but in the beginning of it, I think it would have been beneficial to be able to have a couple more groups in that month. But then that falls into the whole Maine care. There's a whole another story, but I would like to see a little bit more one-on-one help, because group counseling is great, but there's definitely a need for one-on-one counseling.
Definitely.
And there is not enough treatment counselors within a lot of the recovery facilities. They're very limited on staff. So I think trying to figure out how to get more staffing.
More staffing. Definitely. More options outside.
Yes, I'm for all sorts. I'm for a diverse range of options, such as detox, medical treatment, counseling treatment, mental health treatment, whatever the treatment may be. It just needs to be more. I'm for that, and then you can do this from a conservative standpoint. In the conservative standpoint way of doing this is I guess I'm going to have to bring this up, is people who are on Maine care, say you're a male in the state of Maine and you are addicted to drugs. The only way you are going to get Maine care is if you are with under 18 years of age, but then good luck getting into a treatment facility, because a lot of treatment facilities won't accept you unless you're over the age of 18. Okay, so in order to be a male and get Maine care, you have to have a child, and you have to be with that child's mother. Now, here's a crazy part, just to add in that. Now, if you and that mother need help because you can't work when you're getting Maine care, so say that mother needs help, she ain't going to be able to get money from the state because she's with the father. So that messes it up there. So now you have your insurance, okay? So say you want to be the man of the house. You know, I'm in recovery. I've been here 5 months. I'm stable. I'm doing great. I'm ready to get out back in the community. I go get a job with Walmart, okay? I want to say it's 3 months to report to Maine Care that you are working, okay? And then they start the process of moving you off. Okay, well, that process is 1 month. That's it. 1 month you have to find new insurance, okay? Now, let's say you start at Walmart in, I don't know, the 3rd month of the year. Insurance policies don't open until
the end of the year,
November. So you are going to be paying at least $125, and that's on a cheap, I know that's one of the cheaper ends, for treatment a week.
Per visit, right?
A week.
Yeah.
So $120 roughly a week. So you're looking at $700 a month for treatment. So what happens is you get a job. Now you've lost your health care. You're paying out of pocket. Say, how do you see what I'm saying? So now you've essentially set yourself up for failure.
Yep.
So this is where my idea comes in, is to help that breadwinner of the family.
The transition period.
Yep. That's where we need to have the argument of how long that transition period needs to be. And I would like to see it so that that person can buy into Maine Care. What's wrong with letting somebody buy into Maine Care?
Yeah.
I see no problem with it. And then at that point, you're subsidizing the family.
Right.
A lot of Republicans have no problem subsidizing the family. At least I know I don't. I'd rather subsidize a family than subsidize a corporation.
Absolutely.
So that's what I would like to see. Essentially, the way that the from being I can only say from a male perspective because I'm a male, but from a male perspective, trying to get into treatment if you're not working, or chances are if you're as heavy as I was when I went into treatment of a user, you weren't working, at least not
A stable job.
a stable job. Your job was to not be sick. That's what your job becomes. So you're essentially set up to fail. And I think we need to start having the discussion. That's where I think Paul LePage had the right idea on trying to make the safety net, but set it up so that they're not set up for failure, so that they're set up to succeed.
Right. So I to circle back on that, I think we need
Circle
to
back?
I think we need to do like a tiered system, because right now it's the same way with like food stamps.
Yep.
So for people that make a certain amount of money, like you have something right now, that's fine. But if you want to better yourself and get a better paying job or a job, if you reach that threshold, you get like zero.
Yep.
You get cut off. So that's not helping anybody.
No.
Like you lose those benefits.
Yep.
Whatever they are, because you're now making too much. So there needs to be like some sort of like tiered system where you can essentially like earn your way out of them by the more you make,
Yeah.
the less you give. It's not like cut off,
Right.
but it's
gradual.
just you get less. And
But also have it set up so that they can replace it with whatever's being offered, say through the what the employer offers for health care.
Yeah.
And so forth. But yeah.
so for
I-
your
Yeah.
the main care thing you're talking about, I think once you start, so like for instance, I know you can't sign up for main care. I mean, you can't sign up for insurance until the enrollment period.
Yep.
So if you say, for instance, you start making too much, you shouldn't get kicked off until
Right.
the enrollment period.
Right.
So you should have, they should let you stay on that until the enrollment period starts.
And then start the
You-
transition
You
period.
can't have your cake and eat it too.
Right.
I know they like to, it's government and it's healthcare, but
Right.
they write all the bills that the government passes. But
I think, and it's just it's more of looking at it through a common sense lens, I guess. I mean, there's so many conservative things we could do to address these problems that I think
That, like you said-
somebody like Ruth would definitely be.
Well, you said it. Why do we want to set people up for failure? Why? It just makes no sense.
No, and Kevin Kitchen was a big proponent on. This kind of falls. It's a different category, but he was talking about trade schools on the back end of how it will save money.
Mhm.
That I think would save money on the back end. I don't know. That's why these are the conversations that need to that need to happen,
and we're having them here.
and we
And
are having
so,
them here.
Let me. I got to get it out of my head.
Yeah.
So when we were all in COVID and Governor Mills was giving away the farm, all this unemployment and this and that, and now we have a whole multitude of businesses who don't have people. Where are they? I don't understand how people are not working.
It's a great numbers game on paper.
Holy moly!
I think it's fallen from the engineers' standpoint, or no, not the engineers, the people that sit and make the plans on the computer. I forget what they're called.
Like the CAD designers?
Yeah, the CAD designers. Until it gets touched by an engineer, it may look good on paper, but in reality, when it gets applied, things change. And having somebody who knows what those changes are going to be, like Ruth, I think would be.
And that's why I think I think one of the most important things in not just our country, but our state, is having that dialogue, having the debate where people can talk
Yes.
about the attended consequences versus the unattended consequences of everything that we pass. Just because, there might be something like citizens initiatives. I know those come and those are really popular in the state for whatever reason. But a lot of people don't think of all the unintended consequences that could come if they only knew all sides of the argument.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think having debate,
Rhonda,
whether it's like this or like at the State House or whatever, is such an important role, because you need all aspects of something, like the engineer that draws the plans, like the people on the front lines that actually do all this. Everyone needs to come to the table and say, all right, this is everything that we have. If we do this, this is what might happen. This is what might happen. And if this happens, then we account for this by adding that.
and I also think too, it's not, I don't necessarily think it's just people not having good ideas, like why it's not where it should be. It's just that when we do get together, we tend to overcomplicate things. I think if we get back to keeping it simple, I think we can do it.
And
Common
think we can do
sense. It's common sense too.
and I get that, but I think the devil is in the details,
Right.
which is what makes it complicated for simplifying things.
Yeah.
Because if it's not actually written down, then something might not be accounted for.
True.
So, I don't like 4,000-page bills or all that kind of stuff. But the more info included in something, the more the meeting of the minds can happen between everyone that knows. That just,
Well, I guess
the other flip
I
side.
guess what I'm trying to say by making it more simple would be making sure that the information is there. We don't want to lose that.
Mhm.
I guess it's more on the delivery of how we deliver it, the information, I guess. Keeping it clear.
Yeah, and keeping an open mind.
Yep.
I don't, I call myself a Republican and a conservative, but I want to always keep an open mind
Right.
to change
Yeah.
or to a different way. That's
Because no one has the perfect way.
No.
no.
And your way is right for you now, but if you had been given info, you might have changed your opinion about stuff.
Especially with
Absolutely.
the way that things evolve these days.
Yeah.
We're in a more polarized era where things happen more. They happen at a quicker rate. They happen faster. I mean, just look at the way that we get our news. 10, 15 years ago, we may have been waiting till 5 o'clock in the afternoon to get our news. Now we
Right.
just pick our phone up and
Mm-hmm.
we have our news. So I think it is just, it's learning how to keep it simple.
It's also
And
learning how to maneuver
maneuver
all
it.
of these
Avenues.
technologies that are relatively newish.
Right.
Because the news that came in 15 years ago, that was the news that they all came to a consensus that they were going to say.
Right.
It doesn't, a lot of it was like, some of it could have been in the lens of one particular person that they were trying to attract. So they're going to say things for that one particular person. So a lot of it might not have been lies, but it might have been deceitful.
Right. Right.
But now where you can Google everything,
Yeah.
Janet Mills had her State of the State a couple
Well,
weeks ago. You could easily Google the numbers that she was talking about while she was saying it.
Right.
Well, you see it with a lot of mainstream publications. They may not necessarily be lying, but they may not be giving you the whole entire story.
Right. They're giving you what they want
Right.
you to give you.
Exactly.
And the truth is somewhere in between.
Exactly. So,
We've touched on a lot of stuff.
we have.
Yeah.
I know
I'm excited.
we're pretty much coming up on an hour. So,
Well, we've been past an hour. It's 9:10.
okay. Well, I guess we should wind this down. Definitely, we want to thank a shared studio for allowing us to make this happen. Can we talk about anything else that's in the works? Like,
No, right now. Just
Okay.
if anyone has any interest in renting out a podcast studio or a photography studio for your next project, let me know and we can set something up.
Definitely.
Shared studio. We also do podcasting production and video production.
And they also help out with creating
We create
.coms.
content. Yeah, well, we do website design. We do content creation, things like that.
So definitely hit them up. So, yeah, I guess we'll wind this down. I'm Sean Karen,
And I'm Jeremy Lezot.
and we would like to thank Ruth Ann
Malcolm.
I always get her last name wrong. Thank you so
All
much.
those L's in there.
I
think.
know it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming out to all sides of Kennebec, and we hope that this resonates with the voters, and hopefully this will get you a little bit of traction.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Uh,
It's been fun. You guys are fun.
Well, I appreciate that.
Also, let's let people know, where can they find you? Where's some good places to get a hold of you if they have questions they would like to ask?
Can I give an email address?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can give
of
an email.
course.
Okay. It's Ruth. No, new one. R.A. Malcolm, MALCOLM .Maine @gmail.com.
Definitely. And I also know that she has a Facebook page.
Yes, I do.
Hold on, let me pull that up so I can give you the correct name.
We can tag it, as
Yes,
always. Actually, I think it already is tagged.
It may be. But again, that is Ruth Ann Malcolm for Maine House District 64, Waterville. And she has a period at the end of Waterville. So make sure you have that period in there, and you will be able to find her on Facebook. This is All Sides of Kennebec. And until next time, be easy, be safe, and remember, a true patriot questions everything.